Glad you're here. We were just engaging in a great conversation about what is too late and what is too early. So if you're curious, what we were talking about going into this was, at what point is it too late at night or too early in the morning? And do you have to lay down in order for that transition to happen? I want you to think about that at home. It's really important that you understand. Kidding, that's not super important at all. But thank you to everybody watching online. Thank you to the ones that'll be tuning in, and thank you guys for being here. This is super weird at this moment, but we're gonna do this together, and my hope is that it's fun. End strong, start strong, and my hope is that for you and for the people watching and for me, that this is something that motivates you. I like motivation. I appreciate encouragement. I appreciate you guys for texting me and giving me encouragement. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate everyone who's watching to be motivated. Leadership is important to me. I think that everything rises and falls on leadership. From business to family to personal to in every category. You look at the greatest leaders, you look at the greatest athletes, you look at the greatest dads, whatever your hero is, 10 out of 10, he or she is your hero because they understood leadership in a way that maybe it's not that we don't understand, but in a way that we might not be as committed to yet. Because I believe wholeheartedly, if we just jump right into this thing, that leadership can be for everyone. I think leadership is for everyone. I think everyone has a lane for leadership. I think everyone is called to be a leader. I just don't know if everyone is as committed to be a leader as it takes to be to the heroes that we've seen and the people that we admire, right? So this whole thing, if you're at home or you're here watching, this whole thing is really all about leadership, all about personal development. I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for leaders in my life, and then for me just jumping into wanting to be the best leader in every category. So let me give you a little outline. I have an MC. It's Torin, my man in the back. Everybody say hey to Torin. Online, it's going to be weird for you to say hey to Torin, but Torin's going to help us if there's people engaging online, if there's any questions. You might not be able to hear what's happening in the room online, but I want to make sure that we collaboratively get to a place tonight and over the next 5 weeks where we understand the value of ending well and starting well. 2020 has been a crazy year for us all. Whether crazy for your finances, crazy for your businesses, crazy for your families, crazy just mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Hello, somebody. So it's been a toll, and if you're not careful, you can just slide into 2021, and it'll be April, and you'll say to yourself, like, what are we doing? How did we get here? Like, this is craziness, And it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was sitting and I was just thinking about my life personally, some dreams that I have, some visions that I have, some goals that I want to achieve, some things personally that I want to develop, some things for our family, some things for our church, and some stuff for our city, and just thought, like, man, I feel a responsibility, because personally, I believe that the number one or two or three, don't hold me to it, the number one attribute or characteristic, or what does it mean to be a great leader, is you have to take responsibility. Like you have to take responsibility for your everything, for any area of your life. There's a little saying that I like to live by. You can't complain about what you tolerate. So if there are things that are happening in your life that you don't like the way they're happening, you don't like what's going on, you wish it would be different, then my personal saying is, like, stop complaining about it, take responsibility for it, because the moment you take responsibility for it, it may not automatically change, in an instant, but the moment you take responsibility for it is the moment that you can start taking steps for it to change. So this session, these leadership sessions are me just taking some responsibility for my calling, my purpose. I take responsibility for this city. I'm not the only pastor in this city, but I am a pastor in this city. I'm not the only leader in this city, but I am a leader in this city. And I felt a nudge to say, come on, we've been through some tough stuff in 2020, right? But we're going to get through it. And I don't know how right this second, and I don't know when it's going to end, but I know that if we can end strong for this year, this calendar year, we can wake up January 1 at whatever time you decide to wake up. If you're Lewis, you wake up at 4 in the morning. If you're somebody else, you like me, it's like 7:30ish, you know? But when you wake up, you know, it's like, all right, I have some direction and I have an aim. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So tonight is to say, you know, why? What is the purpose of this? And then to then say, and then why does personal development even matter? What is personal development, right? So I want us to collaboratively get here. So I'm going to entice some conversation, and hopefully we don't have a ton of shy people. Everything rises and falls on leadership. The beginning of leadership doesn't start with this session. It doesn't start with some, you know, book out there. It doesn't start with an idea. I believe the beginning of leadership starts with you. So let me propose a question to you, and if you're watching online, I'd like to propose a question to you as well. If you're taking any type of notes, you're welcome to write this down. You don't have to. There's no force to do it. But what is leadership? There's no right or wrong answer. I just would like to hear from somebody. I'll repeat it so you guys can hear it online. When I say leadership, what's the first thing that just pops into your head?
Leading yourself.
Leading yourself. Okay? Others.
Taking responsibility.
Taking responsibility. Great. Others. Courage. Service. Think if you're at home or you're sitting in here, I want you just to, don't close your eyes because it might get kind of weird in here. If you're at home, you can close your eyes. But think in your head, like, who is a leader that I just admire? Like just somebody that I look up to, somebody that if they wrote books, I'm reading them. If they do podcasts, I'm listening to them. If they do X, I'm doing that. And say to yourself, like, what characteristics do they have? What would those characteristics be? Integrity. Great. Boldness. Character. Wisdom. Selflessness. So okay, so then what we have to do, right, is we have to take the ones we admire, and we have to figure out a way then to bring that down to our world and say, the first person that I should admire out of any of this is me. And I don't mean that in a narcissistic way. I don't mean that like, you know, care about you and nobody else and others don't matter and we don't serve people. No. But it's biblical, but you can't love others until you love yourself. If you don't know how to love you, if you don't know how to respect you, if you don't value you, you'll never be able to love somebody else, value somebody else, respect somebody else. You'll be able to do it for a little while, but it'll be like wearing somebody else's jacket. It just don't fit right because you don't know how to do it yourself. So we have to take those characteristics of whoever we love, admire, think highly of, and say, okay, what areas then in my life, right? Not that I don't have or feel absent, but we have to take whatever areas that we might feel like that are in my life and we need to grow in. Okay? So what I heard is selflessness. I think Lewis said selflessness just a minute ago. I will be the first to admit, because another form of, another great attribute of a leader is not just responsibility, but I think it's honesty. And you got to be honest with yourself before you're honest with anybody else, right? So when I hear selflessness, I admire people who are selfless, for sure. But if I could be honest in this room, sometimes there's a little bit of selfishness inside of me, you know? And I think the greatest leader in the world, whoever that is to you, would sit in this chair and say, yeah, there's probably a little bit of selfishness in them as well. Because we don't know the things that they go through in their situations. But it does do something inside of me that says, okay, I want a little bit more of my selfishness to die, because that's where I admire to be, right? This is what I aspire to become. There's a big difference, and we've been training people our whole life. You have been conditioned your whole life, whether you realize it or not, to think a certain way. Society has taught you a way to think. Life has taught you a way to think. Leaders have taught you a way to think. Books have taught you a way to think. We don't teach people how to think anymore. We teach people what to think. This is what I want you to think. So I'm a pastor, and so many times I get people, just tell me how to be a Christian. Tell me how to follow Jesus. It's like, I don't want to tell you what. I want to teach you how. Because if you're hungry and I go get you some fish, right, and I bring it to you, you're going to be like, thanks for the fish. But if I teach you how to fish, you're going to be more thankful in the long run, because now I've taught you how to do something, right? But we've taught people for so long, and we're teaching people for so long on just what to think about things. And this, so end strong, start strong. Brandon, just tell me what to do. I'll do it. Give me 4 steps. Instead of thinking differently. My son is a good example. Torrin, how are we doing on time? I start to talk and then I just get going, and I don't even know where I'm at here. I want to honor people's time at least.
We're doing well. We're 12 minutes in.
12 minutes in? Oh, we're great. My son, he's been watching YouTube channels like, oh, it's like, we have to, it's bad parenting, whatever. I don't care. We'll do parenting in another session, okay? I just need a little bit of space or whatever. And he said to me the other day, he said, there's a difference in, I guess what I'm saying is, there's a difference in what you do and who you are. There's a difference in what you want to be and what people are trying to prescribe you to be. What do you want to do? This is a good example. What do you want to do when you get older? This is what school has kind of conditioned. I want to do this, right? They're asking the question, and the way you answer that question is, well, I want to be a fireman, or I want to be a professional athlete. You don't say, I want to do professional athlete. You don't say, I want to do a businessman. But we ask people the question, what do you want to do? And by asking them the question, in your mind, it's shifting you from becoming something and doing things just to hope to get there. Being is how, if you ask me. Doing is what, okay? If we broke it into categories, I'm sorry, I don't have like the cool TVs that most people have where you can just swipe and write on and all that stuff. But if you were to build two sides here, remember, we teach people what to think, not how to think. And I'm saying we should teach people how to think. And when you teach people how to think, you're not telling them what to do. You're teaching them who to become.
That's good.
And that is so important. That is so important. So when it comes to personal development, this isn't Brandon development for chemo. There may be things, I hope, in our journey together that chemo aspires and that he likes. And they're like, yeah, Brandon's a good man because of X, right? But there also might be some things that he also notices that it doesn't necessarily fit his attire. It doesn't fit his fit. It doesn't fit his identity. It doesn't fit his uniqueness. It doesn't fit who God created him to be. So if you're not careful, if all I get up here to do over the next 5 weeks is just give you guys 5 steps on what to think about being a leader and whatever, then I don't feel like I've done you justice on who God uniquely has created you to be for your purpose. So personal development, right? Why are we doing this? Personal development. What is personal development? Personal development, if you ask me, is understanding your couture. It's understanding your uniqueness. It's understanding the person that God created you, and that takes some introspect, you know? I want everybody in this room to, and if you're watching at home, you can write down because I can't hear you, or you can type in. You can hit the chat some of these things too. But this pandemic, everybody says, "Here, type in the chat." You know, I just say, "Type in the chat." I hate that stuff. I did it. I become that guy. You know, give me some thumbs up in the chat. You know, describe one attribute. All I want is one attribute. I think every person, no matter how shy you are in here, give me one attribute that describes you, right? And if someone takes yours, that's totally fine because this isn't about them. This is about you. I'll start right here. I'm going to go the snake, whoop, and then Josh down to Chris, okay? One attribute that describes who you are. Caring, okay? What'd you say? Confident. Giver. Listener. Go-getter. Honest. Loving. Great. Joyful. Okay, we've spent, now probably going on 15 or 16 minutes together. And as I look down in each and every one of you, I'm like, yep, get it. I totally get it. When it's Maya, right? When Maya says giver, I'm like, I've met her twice. And I'm like, got it. I can see that, right? Chemo, listener, for sure, joyful. Every time I see Chris, he has a smile on his face, right? Now, there may have been something, these are all attributes, this is all leadership, this is all personal development, this is all personal growth. There may have been something that when someone said, listener, this is a good example, because sometimes I struggle with listening, right? I mean, I hear you, okay? I hear you, yeah, you know, it's like, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know if I'm listening to you, right? Because society's doing all these things. So when I hear listener, I say, okay, that's something in me personally that I don't necessarily know that I would use to describe me. But it's also something that when he says that, it clearly tells me that he sees that as a value of a leader. So then that's something that I should start working on in me, right? Because if we're always looking for people to be like, oh yeah, I totally understand go-getter. Like confident, go-getter, I'm like, got it, that's me, let's go, let's do it, you know? You know, this whole thing is about being a go-getter, you know? Like, this started from the bottom. No, we here. Okay, so like, so there's certain, but if you're always surrounding yourself with the people that are just like you, think like you, act like you, talk like you, walk like you, and no one's challenging you to like, bro, you should listen to people. You know what I mean? Like you should listen. Then we're not really growing. I think all we're doing then is just kind of padding our stats instead of actually developing and growing and once again personally becoming all that God created you to be. Okay? So when I say personal development, okay, for the next 5 weeks, this is about end strong, start strong, personal development. What is one thing that comes to your mind that you would say, when I think of personal development, this is what I think of? If you're watching online, I want you to answer that question. When I think of personal development, me developing personally, what do I think of? Any answers?
Yeah, I think everything going on in our society today, how hard 2020 has been.
Yeah?
I think personal development for me would be the difference from being right and doing right.
Yeah?
I think a lot of people want to be right, and there's been a lot of
Great.
argument. There's been a lot of disagreements on
Great.
wanting to be right. But I think a leader should show that doing right is,
Yeah.
it makes it better.
Yeah, because you can, so if you couldn't hear online, Chemo said there's a difference in being right and doing right. And if I understand what you're saying, you're not saying that neither one of them, one matters more. Is that what you'd be saying?
Yeah.
That you should be doing them both. Is that, I don't want to.
Yeah, I think that they rarely do the two go hand in hand together.
Okay.
When people want to be right, they
Right.
want
Good. Yep.
And so I think it's just always important to do the right thing. You know?
Right.
Listen, be caring, be joyful, but be confident. You know?
Yep. Okay, so you hit something. I was trying to fish for it, and we got there. You ever met those people? Okay, let's just. You ever met those people? I was trying to use me as an analogy, but I don't want to keep picking on myself. Okay. You ever met those people, and you know within like 3 minutes that their talk is not matching their walk. You know what I mean? Like we live in a culture today that, and I don't think you would be here tonight, and I don't think the people would be watching online if they didn't trust me to some extent. Okay, if Brandon's going to talk about leadership, it doesn't mean that he's perfect. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have bad days. It doesn't mean that he's always been on top of the leadership game. It just means that he's trying his best to give effort. So I think the reason why you're here, I'm assuming, and you'd be watching, is because at some point you respect some sort of something inside of me that's like, yeah, if he's going to talk about leadership, I'll give him my ear because his walk is matching his talk. May not always be perfect, right? But to some extent. But when you start to meet the people that aren't even honest with themselves enough, personal development, honesty of saying like, hey, my walk does not match my talk. And to me, you run into trouble because all you would be doing is just deceiving yourself, lying to yourself in hopes that you begin to believe the lies that you say to yourself. And unfortunately, we've all done it. We've all done it in some way. We all have lied to ourselves for a season because we were too uncomfortable to step out and say, okay, actually, I'm not that, and it's something that I need to grow in, and it kind of hurts a little bit, and I might have to be a little vulnerable enough to say, I'm sorry, or hey, I didn't step up in the way that I should. So here I am. Because why? Because I understand where I'm trying to go. A lot of people don't care about personal development if they have no aim. If you have no aim, why are you here? At 7 o'clock at night. Why are you here? Because you want to be somewhere in 2021. You have. If you don't have them yet, we're going to create them. But you have plans. You have dreams. You have visions. You have businesses. Chemo's getting married. Come on, like the first day of 2021. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me some likes in the chat for that. You know, it's like it's so weird. But like all of it is because because there's some direction that we're trying to go. So over the next 5 weeks, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna journey. We're gonna walk along this process. We intentionally didn't get to anything practical tonight because I know people are like, okay, but okay, but like what do we do? Like, but it's got to be how. It's got to start right here. It's got to start on how you think. In a world that is constantly trying to put you in a system. It's just, and if you're not careful, you'll get systemized. And you'll just flow through and you'll allow what everybody else, if you call them the top dogs or the people you admire, and you'll say, I'll never be able to get there because I don't have this. And that's everybody can get to whatever at the end of this you write down. If you're committed. Okay? So I have subtly given you the 3 things that I wanted to talk about tonight. Responsibility, honesty, and commitment. If you are looking for an anchor and you're like, but I really love to write things down, then this is where it's got to start. It's got to start with responsibility. It's got to start with honesty to yourself. And it's got to start with a commitment that whatever you end up pursuing, writing down, going after, the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, the pits, the valleys, the mountaintops, the betrayals, all of it, you stay committed. Not perfect, committed. Effort, continual, and you just keep going at it no matter what. Responsibility, honesty with yourself, commitment. I wish there was like what do we got? Responsibility, honesty, RHC, right? RHC. Maybe we could do like RCH or H, I don't know. You know when you get the little acronyms. That's the pastor coming out at me. I'm like trying to give everybody. Okay, so what's our time, bro? Are we doing okay? 25? 25? Sweet. Okay, so we got 5 minutes. I'm going to give, do we have, this is like the scariest question of your life. Do we have anybody watching online right this second? We got a couple friends, okay?
Yep, couple friends joining us.
If there's any questions that people might have online, I don't want to leave us in a spot that we're like, yeah, but you said this and I'm not exactly sure what you meant. I just don't want to jump down too fast into what we're going to talk about next week. But has anything that I said, and if not, no pressure, but anything that I said like produced something inside of you? Well, hey, what did you mean by that? Or maybe even help us expand on a topic. Or so when I say responsibility, honest commitment, is there something that's like, yeah, well, what about this? Or hey, I was thinking about that. Anything? Honesty?
Honesty was, as a leader, I think being authentic is really important. I think people like seeing leaders who has a little bit of a limp,
Right.
isn't perfect, and so I think that sticks out.
Yeah.
Being more honest with myself, so
Yeah.
people can feel like they're safe,
Yeah.
as a leader. So yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? This is good because I like asking questions to get answers. I know, unfortunately, maybe the people online might not be able to hear us exactly. Next week we'll have some mics for you to be able to hear us a little bit better. But what is it about honesty and authenticity that you value in a leader?
You ain't gotta fish.
You don't have to fish,
Yeah, it's on the table, it's right there.
okay? What would be something that, as a leader, you wouldn't want to be honest or authentic about because of whatever?
I don't know. I feel like honesty is the best policy. Like,
Honesty is the best policy.
Somebody to be honest with me and hurt me, and as a leader, than to be, lie. So it felt better.
Right.
Yeah.
So you just said I would rather have someone be honest with me and it hurt than to lie to me and not be honest.
Especially if I look up to you.
Right.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you say in the long run, the lie that I was to continue to tell you would actually hurt more than if I just said whatever it is, It's okay. So I use that to kind of give us a little juke here because this is all about personal development, and that's what we do to ourselves. I would rather somebody be honest with me than to lie to me. But if you flip that, you lie to yourself because you don't want the temporary pain. So I would just rather continue to lie to myself, but in the long run, it hurts us the most. You got to be true to yourself, your authentic self, the person that God created you to be. And I'll end with a story because I like telling stories, but I was born with an eye disorder. And some of you, if you've probably talked to me long enough, you've probably been able to tell that okay, I see something going on in those eyes. I'm just not quite sure exactly what. For a long time, I dealt with tons of insecurities. And still to this day, when I take pictures, when I know I'm going to be on camera, when I'm talking to someone face to face, when I'm tired, my eyes get lazy and they just start, and I can't see things. Some of you seen the font on my phone. It's like as big as heaven. It's just like it's a lot. When he looks at his phone, he's doing this. It's like, when he talks to me, he kind of does. It's a lot. And for a long time, I lied to myself that I just, I didn't like me. I wasn't honest with me. I would try to be everything. I tried to numb that feeling with different substances, with girls, with all sorts with pride, with you name it, And it was true to yourself. It was one day, and this is where the God card kind of flips it all. It was just one day that I just felt like everything that I am doing isn't working. And if this is the purpose that God has created me for, and if this is the reason I've been created, and if God trusted me with this, then I don't understand it and I don't get it, but I would rather be true to me and just be honest with that than to try to be something that, because my whole life I was always trying to be something. Well, if you say the wrong thing, the people pleaser comes out in you. Well, what happens if, and you rejection, your abandonment, you get it. I'm sure at some point it's something that we've all probably experienced, right? But then at some point you say to yourself, man, life is too long and already too hard, and too many people are lying to you for you to just be continuing to lie to yourself. So then at some point you understand, okay, this is the person that God created me to be, and I got flaws, and my eyes is probably now a very small flaw. It might be the most visible, but the darkest flaw of them all doesn't happen here on this beautiful face. It's not my ears. It's not my fingernails or whatever. If we're not careful, the darkest flaws are in here. And they're the ones that we want to avoid the most. They're the ones that we want to keep lying about. You can put enough makeup on, ladies or guys. You can get enough beard trims and keep fading it up. Get some jewelry, tattoos covered up. I mean, this is clearly, you can get the most expensive jackets. You can get the nicest cars. You can have it all. But if you're not careful, you have it all, but you're lost in here. Yeah. And so it has to start in here, because this isn't where we want to be flawed, right? I would rather have jacked up toenails, which I do, by the way, okay? That's gross. But I would rather have something that you think is a blemish and be pure on the inside and know that I'm happy with me. The people around me are happy with me. I got close friends. My family loves me. I got people I can call on when I'm in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the things that's what life has been created for. Now, you get it right here, and then somehow it starts to become right here. This is where the Bible matters the most, because when Jesus transforms your life, He doesn't tell you to put on a different jacket, right? He transformed you from the inside out. And that's why we got people journeying through this whole thing. No one comes into our church, walks in this place, and you have to become this other person. But hey, let's put the Jesus card out of it. Let's just talk about leadership. It doesn't mean to go into the closet and change the clothes to be a better leader. You can put on a suit all day. But if you have no character, then that suit is wasted, right? So it has to start from here and then begin to come out. That's why we didn't start writing 3 goals on the wall tonight. That's why we started here, and we're going to take a week. We're going to think about it, some personal development. We're going to take some responsibility. We're going to be honest with ourselves, and then we're going to be committed to this thing. The moment that we feel lying to ourselves or being something that we're not, or trying to prove something to somebody, or I ain't got time for that. Clearly, we don't have time for that. But we're going to do this together. So I thank you. I thank you for being a part. I know some of you might not be able to be doing this for all 5 weeks, but I thank you for coming tonight. I thank you to people watching online. I know that we tried our best to explain it. End strong, start strong. What does this even mean? I don't understand it. But I hope that we've been able to explain it. I hope that you'll keep journeying with us. I hope that you'll keep watching. And I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for you. We love you so much. Everybody say bye to the people online. Bye. All right. We love you guys. Have a great week.